All right, guys, here we are. It is the season 3 finale, episode 8 of The Mandalorian. It's over. Done. And we're going to talk about it in full spoilers here today. If you're brand new to the channel, you've never been here before, do me a favor, show a little class. Hit that button. Get us to 100. Oh, I don't have class if I don't hit your subscribe button. Never said that. I said that you're just showing a little if you do. That's it. But I'm glad that you're joining us here today. One last thing before we start, if you're going to be anywhere near Burbank, April 28th, the whole crew, Sith Council, all of us are going to be live. You can also watch it live stream if you want. But let's get into it. So the season finale of The Mandalorian, I want to talk about all the things first that I really dug about the season in general, because I know it's the most divisive season out of all of the seasons so far of The Mandalorian, and I think rightfully so. I think there's a lot of things that worked. I think there's a lot of things that did not work. I think there's the writing was definitely lower than the previous 2 seasons. I am still pretty adamant that I don't think Dave Filoni was very involved this season because he was working on Ahsoka. And for people like, well, he was there. He was on scene. Guys, his office is in the area where they do stuff. I'm just telling you that if you look at the timing of all of it, with Ahsoka and this show and the pre-production, it just makes sense. There's only so much one person can do. I just don't think he was as involved, and especially in the writing. I know he wrote some episodes, but anyway, the stuff that worked. I think that for this particular episode, the grand spectacle that you watch Star Wars for was all there. You had space, some space fights, but dog fights, big ships, big battles, the science fiction magic, the Force, all of it. It was all there, and it's that soup of Star Wars that we talked about that was in full effect. And the story that I liked the best throughout this entire thing was the Mandalorians recapturing Mandalore and getting there and the essence of it and getting a home again and setting up shop and finding their homeworld and finally defeating Moff Gideon. It was all there. And I think that, the banding of the Mandalorian culture, and I know some people were predicting that the armorer was going to be the spy and be bad. I'm so glad that they didn't do that. I'm so glad. I thought that would have been so silly. So just a shtick move to turn heads. It didn't go with her character at all. It made no sense, and I'm so glad they didn't do it. I think I heard so many people predicting that, and I'm like, God, I hope that's not true. That sounds so lazy, and they didn't do it. So I think Rick Famuyiwa did a great job directing both of these episodes. I do think, and this is still a compliment of it all, and I think that it's probably just a I don't know what the call was, because I guess they wanted to have ratings for 8 straight weeks or whatever. But I do think that episodes 7 and 8 play like it's just one episode cut in half. I mean, it's clear as day. I mean, it starts with them running out of the cave, and they're kind of locked in, and we get pretty quick, and you kind of have to, that Din, you're not going to be able to hold Din down. He beats the piss out of the troopers that are trying to hold him down, and Grogu gets involved as well, and he's hitting the no button. No. And I don't think that got overbearing. I thought that it worked, and I thought that it could have gotten shticky, but I like the way that they work together, and it shows their relationship and the continuous bond that the two of them have since season 1 plays and really comes to fold here. And I saw a lot of people saying in this one that this felt like a series finale. See, I don't think so. I think that it is a clear-cut replacement for Rangers of the New Republic. There was a show that they were supposed to do, Rangers of the New Republic, that Gina Carano was supposed to be a part of, and they kind of switched it, and they gave a lot of stuff, and instead of doing that show, they did Skeleton Crew, but they still wanted to kind of hold these missions inside the New Republic, and it looks like that's exactly what they're doing. And I saw some people tweeting, what does this mean? Will we even see them before the movie? Of course you're going to see them before the movie. They already said that the season 4 has been written. So this was the plan, to get Grogu and Din off doing missions. I hope it's a little bit of a time jump, and we get Grogu talking, because the baby goo goo gaga stuff, cute, selling toys, but I think it's run its course. But it is a good ending to where they set up camp. We're back to the kind of the old familiar of they're going to be on Navarro, they're going to be taking side missions, they're going to be doing bounties, but they're going to be doing bounties on the good side for the New Republic. We're going to learn a little bit more about the New Republic, structure. Hopefully blending into, you would think, blending into this overall story that is being told with Thrawn, Ahsoka, the outer regions, and how Din and Grogu will get involved with that one way or another, especially if Thrawn does come back into the fold from the outer regions to attack. So they set that up at the end here, and they again set up the relationship they're going to have. I think Grief Karga will probably be a lot more involved in season 4 and going back to the kind of old faithful things that we know. So I didn't understand why a lot of people were saying this felt like a series finale. I don't think so. I think it felt like, hey, we're going back to basics. This was to get the Mandalorian culture set up again. It's to show that they're part of it. Should they want to go back to Mandalore, they have a home. Mandalore is a thing. It's a strong unit. So if anybody comes messing around, then they're all set up there. And for the Mandalorians, whether it's Axe and Koska Reeves and obviously Bo Katan, they've now redeemed their culture and they've united, as William Wallace, unite the clans. They did it. And that was the overall point in season 3. And I thought that 7 and 8 obviously did that strong. Something I really liked was the cloning aspect of what Moff Gideon was doing. He was basically told by the government, by the Empire, that, hey, you got to work on this cloning stuff so we can get the Emperor back. Thrawn has this plan. You got to do it. And he's like, that was always your thing, not my thing. Well, it turned out it was his thing, but he was trying to clone himself and give himself the Force. Love that story element. Kind of came out of nowhere-ish. I wish they would have developed on that more, played a little bit more with the Katie O'Brien character inside of that to play throughout the entire season. But it was a great setup. It just was kind of came and gone. It came and gone, came and went. When they say, hey, he's cloning himself, blow it up. Hey, you blow up my clones before they had a chance. And you're like, wait, what? That was cool. What happened? It's over? Oh, now they're fighting. But the story was interesting that he was doing that he was going behind Thrawn's back. Was also, I guess I want to stick with the stuff that I like, because, and again, I like that we didn't have people are like, well, who was this? Who were the spies? They talked about these spies, but they didn't tell you who the spies were. Well, they told you the spies were in the last episode. It was Katie O'Brien, and then I think there was somebody else working inside the Empire, like one of the people on the, I don't know, whoever the hell it was, but it wasn't. The spy was really Katie O'Brien for the entire time, because she was the one who was feeding the information, letting them know about the Mandalorian. So she was ultimately the spy, and I think that everybody kind of read into that. He had a Mandalorian spy. Love that they all worked together. Love that there was no turncoats. Again, I think that would have been predictable storylines. I like that they didn't go that route. And then I like the kind of the arc that Axe had. I like that they didn't sacrifice Axe. I thought they were going to go, okay, here he is. He's going to have this heroic moment where he runs the ship into the thing, blows everything up. No, he's like, I got a jetpack. I'm getting out of here. And he left. Good for him. Smart. Then they had this stuff where they basically, you see that they need the armor. They need the armor to help set the culture, to set the rules, to give, that whole scene, which was a great scene, by the way. I don't know if I'm crazy about the Din Grogu name. It is what it is, but it was a touching moment where we've been watching Din for so long with this kid, and I didn't, the news to me that the parents might be still alive. There's more of this species running around, but who even knows? But she said, who even knows if the parents are alive? So he's like, what if I adopt them? She's like, this is the way. Do what you got to do. That makes sense. And that's what happened. So he took an apprentice on, didn't know about, almost like the Jedi thing. She's like, you take him along on missions and do the thing as your side adventures, basically, that yours did for you. And I think, again, that's why I like where they're going with it, because we're going back to basics with where we found the Mandalorian in season 1, collecting bounties, finding people like, oh, it's just going to be a bunch of side missions. I'm not telling you there's not going to be side missions, because there will be, and I'm not a side mission guy. But what I will say is that that's what the first season started with, and then this through line of the story kind of took shape. And I think that that's what they're aiming for, which will eventually lead into the big movie and crossover event that Filoni's directing. So I like that. And I liked the Mythosaur. I like that you didn't have to see Mythosaur running around. I love, there were rumors. You know, Rick Famuyiwa said there was going to tie up Boba Fett somehow. How did it tie up Boba Fett? There was nothing to Boba Fett at all. So maybe just throwing you for a loop. I don't know. There was no, unless I was looking for a post-credit scene. I didn't see one. So if I missed it, let me know. But I was going back and forth. It was late, but I was looking. I'm like, where the hell is it? But it went and moved, and it delivered on the big spectacle that they promised that it would be. So as I say that, you know, there's all this stuff, and again, I enjoyed watching it, and I thought it plays together. I think 7 and 8 again play a lot better together as one full episode, and that's one of my biggest criticisms. As it's been the entire season, you can predict what I'm going to say. Some of you agree with me, some of you are tired of me saying it, but if overall, when you take out the little 2-minute thing up top and all the credits, this is like a 32-minute episode for a finale. Bo Katan went through all this stuff to recapture the thing that was happening, that she finally did what she had to do when she was haunted by all this stuff through her family. She had made a lot of bad choices, and she finally did it. She united all the Mandalorians and came together, and her and Din had this amazing kinship where he says to her in I think it was the last episode, "I got your back. I'm with you no matter what." They didn't even say goodbye to her. They didn't even have a goodbye moment. I think maybe like a nod or something, but where's that scene? Have a couple, what's that, 2 or 3 minutes? Have a scene with the two of them. What are you doing next, Bo? Well, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. You take care of yourself, blah, blah, blah. They were with each other the entire season. There's no goodbye moment at all. No moment with the armor and Bo-Katan setting up this whole thing of everything that she did. That big conversation that the two of them had. It was like the stuff that really worked, like the big action pieces and all that, could have been coupled with some good dialogue and some good scenes. And again, an added 10 or 12 minutes to it just to give those particular scenes. Like a particular scene that worked for me in this was when they're taken down to the flourishing gardens and all this, and they're like, this is a camp. This is where you guys set up, and like, we have all these all over, like this hope. And it's like, oh, okay, give me more of that. Give me more like detail. The spectacle and the fights and all that, amazing. There's good stuff. And like the Grogu using the Force to we've seen it before, but it's impactful. He saves them, and Axe coming down with the ship and those visuals. The visuals were fantastic. All that. And then I get what they did with the Darksaber. I'm on the fence with it if I liked it or didn't like it. I know what the point was. The point was that the Mandalorians don't for years have relied on the Darksaber as the thing. So Moff Gideon destroyed the thing and then said, well, you don't have that anymore, and you guys are so dependent on it. And then Grogu and Din and Bo worked together to kill him. I wish somebody would have cut his head off. Maybe that's the whole reason they had him burn in fire, because we don't really know if he's dead or not. You assume he is. He just looks like he got disintegrated, but if you don't see it, you never know. But it would have been good to see him just get his head sliced off, but he didn't. But the point was, the saber got destroyed, and it was like, you don't need that thing. It just, there was so much history behind it that I'm not sure if I loved it, but I understood it. So it wasn't one of the things, that's terrible decision. I get why they did it. But I'm just telling you that one of the biggest criticisms for this season for me was a lack of the dialogue, a lack of the character building. They could have built out Axe more. They could have definitely built out Cusker Reeves more. They could have built out all of these different characters throughout, and then they could have built out. I mean, Moff Gideon, and whether it's paying Giancarlo or whatever it might be, we knew he was coming back. Like, let's build his. Let's see that scene when he gets rescued early. Let's build him up. Let's build him up more about what he's doing and his mission and all that. It's like 7 and 8, and that was it. And he was gone. I think that they should have built out that more. There's just a couple things that could have been built out more that I think was lacking, because, again, all the positives here I think was just it was really nice and shiny, and it was like a good sandwich with not enough meat. Does that make sense? Because I enjoyed watching it, but I wasn't full. You know what I mean? I ate the sandwich. That tasted good. What else we got to eat? When's that Ahsoka sandwich coming up? That sounded bad. But you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. And I think it's the shorter episode problem. And it plays like the animated side of it. So the story, there was, again, even with dialogue, was some Moff Gideon, this perfect example. Episode 7, one of my favorite scenes, I think, in The Mandalorian is in the beginning of episode 7. That full scene that he has with the Imperials and the setup with Thrawn and how he's kind of bucking against the system and all of that, and how layered that was, and learning more. And that was a 2-3 minute scene. All that dialogue, I'm like, oh, hopefully get a lot of that in the finale. And there wasn't really any of it. And they set up this thing with Thrawn. We thought there was going to be a little bit more setup to kind of play into Ahsoka. And there wasn't. And that's not necessarily like a big criticism on it. It's interesting that they didn't, considering that they're trying to push people towards Ahsoka, who maybe were just Mandalorian fans, never watched Rebels, never watched Clone Wars or anything. And interesting that they didn't give you that, hey, this is going to tie into Ahsoka. You should watch it. Here's a post-credit. Here's this. Interesting. Not a big criticism on it, because that's the way they didn't want to tell. That's the way they told the story. So I was confused by it, I will say. But yeah, that really is just my biggest criticism on this episode was just the lack of dialogue and story. When if it was like a 52-minute episode, I think they could have done that. I think this is kind of fit the same kind of Obi-Wan model, where it's like, where's the conversation about your brother? That was so good. Where's that? But again, I think that overall, I'm not as down on this season as a lot of people are, but I do understand why people are. I mean, like I said, I went to Mark Riley's wedding over the weekend, and there were a lot of people who were talking to me about Mandalorian, saying that they were let down by the season, the writing was bad, played like a cartoon. These are all like really massive fans of the series in general. And I was like, yeah, I think when they hit the story beats, it really worked. What I just said to you guys for the last like 10, 15 minutes was that my biggest issue was just lack of dialogue and storytelling. But I enjoyed watching the season. There are some episodes I liked a lot better than others. The only episode I really didn't like was the Jack Black and Lizzo episode. But other than that, they're all episodes that I enjoyed watching. I think, if you're ranking seasons in general, I would put season 1 of The Mandalorian, season 1. I go back and forth. I put Andor and then season 2 of Mandalorian right there. I had to put Obi-Wan over this season because of the fight. I don't love Obi-Wan, but I had to put I don't know. Could go back and forth after watching this. And then this one. And then Boba Fett, but I don't know. I could trade out this and Obi-Wan what would I watch again? I'd probably just watch the fights in Obi-Wan, but I would watch this whole season. So maybe that was complete BS. I have to rank them and see I'll probably do a video on that. But anyway, that's the majority of it. And again, it's a shorter episode. And this video is probably gonna be longer than the episode. But what'd you guys think? Did you love the episode? I'm sure what I've been seeing, I'm loving it, by the way. I love the positive conversations in general. And even if you didn't, and not positive saying you loved everything, I love the positive conversations and positive criticism. And that's something I'm trying to spread more of here in general. It's okay to love things. It's okay to have criticism on things. It's okay to not like things. It's okay to really not like things and talk about them in a way to tell people why and not make people feel bad about it and have conversations. Like, again, there are extreme hate channels. There are extreme I love everything channels. They're doing their thing. That's their brand. That's not this. To me, it's like, well, you criticize everything. Not true. I told you everything that I really liked about it. I'm going to tell you everything that I think I had a problem with. Question I really want to know is, what did you really like about it? What did you really not like about it? And I saw a great tweet from Frank Janisch, who was part of the Schmodown for a very long time. And Frank said, look, here's this. I thought it was a great finale. Here are the things that I really dug about it, but I understand if that didn't work for you. I had to watch the whole, he watched all 3 seasons, and to him, it plays like it's a one big movie. He's like, I understand everybody can't do that, but that's the way I enjoyed it. I love that. Have that kind of conversation. Talk about that inside the comments, and let me know what you thought about it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you think this just didn't work? Are you excited about a season 4 if they are going back to basics? If you didn't like this season and they're going back to basics, or are you just done? I'm so curious to hear what people think. Are you going into Ahsoka saying, I wish they would have shown some more? I wish they would have tied it in a little bit. Or you say, no, I'm going to watch Ahsoka anyway because that trailer was just fantastic. I love all the different conversations, so please make sure you let your voice be heard in the comments. I'll try to get back to you, comment, have some conversations with you. Speaking of which, you want to have a conversation, man, come on out and talk to us live. Come see us live. We're going to be doing stand-up comedy for the first hour, and then after that, full show. We'll be talking Star Wars. We'll be talking DC and Marvel, and we'll be talking TV and everything. It's a full-on Big Thing podcast on the second half of the show. We got to get there, and that's thekristianharloff.com. Now, you want to watch the podcast portion live, you can also buy the live streaming at thekristianharloff.com. If you're going to be in New York, June 23rd, we're going to be there. And then this is a massive show in Stamford, Connecticut the next night. Myself and Mark Ellis back together again, and we're going to be doing stand-up, and so are Corey and Martin Double Toasted, but then we're going to do a podcast the second half of the show, the 4 of us together. So if you can join us, please do. Thanks for joining me here on the show. I really appreciate you. Thanks for joining me for all the episodes of The Mandalorian Season 3. If you haven't already, show a little. Hit that button. Help us get to 100,000. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back for Sith Council a little later today to really dive deep into this. You guys are the best. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.